Donk Nation, Jackson, Janet's greetings and welcome to your daily dose of donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, bringing you some Steelers talk on this Easter weekend. Shout out to everyone who's celebrating and having a good time. I'm going to be cooking up some good stuff today. And anyone out there enjoying the Masters in the absolute downpour of rain, kudos to you. Opening week of baseball. Good to see the Pirates still playing some good ball here and there. The pitching could use some help. But we're here for Steelers talk because that's what it is. That's what it's about. The boring time of the offseason. That's why I bring up some other stuff going on. I don't even know what to say. Not much going on for the Steelers. Really no news this week of all of anything unless you're a big J.C. Hassenauer fan watching him sign with the Giants. Best of luck to him. Served adequately as a backup for the Steelers when needed to be put in there. But what are we going to talk about then? I'm here by myself, so I guess I'll go over, do I think the Steelers have improved from the start of last year to right now? And I will do that position group by position group. And we will start on the offensive side of the ball at quarterback. Last year, 3 quarterbacks start the year: Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, the starter, Kenny Pickett. Has this group improved? Yes. The reason is Kenny Pickett, now the best quarterback of the 3, is coming into camp as the starter and has a year of experience. That means this group should be better, even though it's just Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky right now. Look for either a veteran signing on late, like maybe Mason Rudolph back, or a young rookie to come in and take third string, but third string's really not a priority. So since I think the top 2 are in the proper order this time and have more experience, especially for Pickett, is a huge thing. I think this group is better. Let's give a check to the better there. Let's move to running backs. Jaylen Warren, established. Najee Harris, established. Third back right now looks like Anthony McFarland. I don't think that's really a downgrade from Benny Snell Jr., who would have been the third back last year, of course. So we'll call running backs a wash because I don't think this is a position that necessarily gets better with more experience, because a lot of times what happens is when running backs start getting lots of carries, you start to see wear and tear, and you start to see problems arise, which could be what happens with Najee. So I'll call this a push right now, as the group is still young enough to where it might not be effective. But Najee's had a lot of wear and tear in just 2 seasons, plus his usage at Alabama. Makes you, I'm always scared with the running backs, but I'll call it a push because it's the same 2 guys who were the 2-headed monster last year, which isn't a bad thing. Now let's move on to the wide receiver room. Last year you started Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Chase Claypool, Gunnar Olszewski, Boykin. Sims ended up in that mix. Right now, as it sits, you still have Olszewski, Johnson, and Pickens is there, as you had departures of Claypool, Sims, definitely gone as they signed on in other spots. Calvin Austin III may be healthy this year, but he was a guy thought to maybe be in it last year. So wide receiver group as it stands today, unless they add someone in the draft, which is a very possible thing, I would say right now the wide receiver group is slightly down. Because say what you want about Claypool, yeah, he struggled a little bit from here and there, but he is a guy who had almost 1,000 yards as a rookie, had a really good first season, sophomore slump, third year not so good. But right now they haven't replaced him. I do think Pickens takes a step forward, but Deontay Johnson seemed to take a step back in last year's offense. I don't know if he'll take another step forward. But as it stands right now, I would say wide receivers, a very, very slight check to the negative, because maybe Calvin Austin III's healthy. Maybe that's why they weren't so worried about keeping a guy like Sims, who came on and did pretty well. Boykin might be brought back later. Good special teams guy, not a guy that did anything on the offensive side. So we get into tight ends. You still have Freiermuth, Gentry, and Hayward, the Cerberus, the 3-headed beast. They're all back. They're all the same. Hayward has another year experience. So just like the wide receivers had a slight negative check, they're going to get a slight positive check here as a slightly better group, I think, today than they ended last year. And then we get to offensive line. Last year's starters, Dan Moore, Dotson, Cole, Daniels, Chuck Okorafor. This year's starting group looks like it's going to be, as it stands, now albeit still draft to add people, Dan Moore, Isaac Simualu, Cole, Daniels, Chuck Okorafor. That's a huge upgrade as Dotson was the biggest liability on that team last year. Simualu was a top 10 offensive guard last year type of guy, definitely top 20, but probably top 10 type of offensive guard. Definitely is going to upgrade this unit. Plus, you have Dan Moore with another year of starting experience as he's one of those guys the first 2 years. At this point, experience doesn't matter anymore. But that whole second year of building, he looked a little better again at the end of last year. Still, I wouldn't say upper tier, but swing tackle, passable guy. And there's a lot of swing tackle guys who are starting because there's not 32 starting left tackles in the league. So things could be worse for the Steelers here. But all in all, we're going to say this group, huge upgrade just by adding Simualu. That's not even to talk about the backups now with Herbig looking like he's going to battle with Dotson for the backup, which should be an improvement over having Kendrick Green as your backup there. LaRaven Clark taking over for Scott is essentially a wash. They're both just swing tackles at best type of guys. So the depth is still there. The depth is better, and the starters are better. Should be a huge better for the offensive line, which gives me this year, I will say, if you were grading, I would say if the Steelers were a C plus last year on offense, they're up to a solid B this year. I don't know what you want to grade them as last year. I graded them as C plus, just barely above the average line of a C. And now I think they're in the B grade, not quite up to that elite level or that top tier. But the type of people you don't worry about because they're getting things done. That's where I would put them right now. Let's move on to defense. Defensive line, essentially the same 3, 4. We'll go top 5 guys, I guess, here. Last year, that'd be Hayward, Adams, and Ogunjobi as the starters. And then your, I guess, top 3 backups will be Alualu, Wormley, and Leal. This year, right now, as it stands, you have Hayward, Adams, Ogunjobi, hopefully healthy this year, backed up by Leal, no one in the middle right now, and Loudermilk is what it looks like. I would say right now the defensive line is a slight step backwards, and my main reason for that is Cam Hayward's another year older. Ogunjobi, maybe he stays healthy this year, but you're looking at it compared to the start of last year. That's what I want to do is who was there and playing there. I'd say it's a slight downgrade because I think Hayward's starting to show the ebbs of time. Alu last year showed the ebbs of time. This group has a lot of room for improvement if Leal can take the step forward. But the thing is, without an absolute wrecker on this defensive line, you've seen how Steelers can struggle when they don't have 2 wreckers with Tuitt and Hayward was when they were really good. Just with maybe without even a single wrecker now, things could be very scary on the defensive line. Let's go to outside linebackers. As it stands right now, Jameer Jones was brought back to back up Highsmith and Watt. Hopefully, Bud Dupree signs a contract sometime here with the Steelers. That'd be nice. Who knows where they're going to go there, but you had Watt, Bud Dupree backed up last year by Malik Reed. He didn't really pan out to be the thing. Jones got some time there. They're trying all sorts of people. Steelers brought back Quincy Roche, who's played a little bit, had a little more experience. I would say all in all, just by losing Malik Reed, this group's going to be better because the Steelers were really, really trying to show that Reed could be that third guy, and he never really took over. He didn't show what he showed in Denver. He just really struggled with the way the Steelers played. So I would say a slight upgrade here by the outside linebackers, and that's just by having someone other than Malik Reed being able to get the backup third person stats or starts, I guess. I think Roche fits in better with this team. I think Jones would have been better off getting, from the limited time watching him, would have been better with the limited snaps than what Reed was getting out there. So see what happens there. Now the position, a big change. Middle linebacker gone from last year's team are Bush, Spillane, and of course, why am I forgetting his name? Miles Jack. All gone. Robinson's still there. I'll say Robinson's going to be better this year because he has a year of experience under his belt. That should help him a lot. Brought in our guys we've talked about a lot. Holcomb, Robertson, all those guys. Do they improve here? I think we improve from Miles Jack. I think we improve from Bobby Spillane. The problem is we don't have a second starter yet. So as it stands today, I have to say the middle linebacking crew is not as good as it was last year, just because haven't yet fixed the problem of a second starter unless they think they did, in which case I will say we've downgraded a couple spots, and well, we'll see what happens here. I mean, hopefully Holcomb is an improvement over Miles Jack. Hopefully he's healthy and regained what he had 2 years ago, but don't know till we get to see it. As it stands right now, I would say this is a downgrade. You go into the defensive backs. Let's start with the corners. Last year, you had Ahkello Witherspoon, Levi Wallace, and of course, Cam Sutton starting out there. And then the backup guys were James Pierre. James Pierre's back. Ahkello Witherspoon's still on the team, so that's that. Levi Wallace still there. Brought in Patrick Peterson, had a pretty good year last year. But when you go stats for stats, Peterson more interceptions, giving up more touchdown, giving up a worse quarterback rating. So Cam Sutton had a better quarterback rating, a couple fewer interceptions, though a career high 3. And we're going to go here comparing a 32-year-old to a guy who's 27, 28. Really a good system fit. Cam Sutton showed that. He did everything the Steelers wanted, allowed the Steelers to do a lot of fun stuff in coverage that they weren't able to do before. So I would have to say a slight downgrade here as it stands right now at defensive back. Puts us there, or excuse me, cornerback puts us there. We get into safety. You still have Minkah Fitzpatrick. You still have Miles Killebrew. You still have DeMonte Casey. You don't have Terrell Edmunds anymore as he left. He's going to be replaced by Keanu Neal is what it looks like. I have to say that's a slight downgrade. Terrell Edmunds never should have been a first-round pick, nor should any safety ever be a first-round pick because you can always find top-tier ones on the market and find them decently cheap, kind of like offensive guards. You can find them, you can get them. That's the way things roll. Neal, though, another former first-round pick who probably shouldn't have been, is a guy who's just a concussion protocol waiting to happen. He wants to play like a linebacker, but he's too small to be a linebacker, and even then he's not that fast. I think he ran a 4.67. Like, I think both of the Steelers' current middle linebackers run faster than Keanu Neal. I hope he fits in. I hope he can make it work. But last time I believed in a fit like this coming in looking good was Mark Barron, and the Steelers' way of play just didn't seem to fit that. Terrell Edmunds, perfect style of play, really let Minkah Fitzpatrick do what Minkah Fitzpatrick needed to do. And say what you want, I think that chemistry on the back is something that the Steelers should have paid a couple $1 million extra to keep Edmunds, because that is important. I mean, the chemistry is a huge thing and is a huge need. I'll say that is definitely a check mark to the negative going in there. So, defense, I would say last year I had a lot of faith in this defense, and it's because I thought Cam could play at a high level. I thought Ogunjobi was going to be a sneaky find that he didn't really turn out to be. I would have said last year the defense was a B plus. I don't think they were an elite defense, but they're definitely a good one. I'd have gave them a B plus rating. As it stands right now, there's still needs that need to be addressed in the draft in cornerback and inside linebacker. If those could be fixed, the Steelers could definitely see an uptick here. But as it stands right now, I would have to say your Pittsburgh Steelers defense went from a B plus to a B minus. I think they're still not getting into the average, below average range, but I don't think they're going to be that unit that we have seen in the past. Go special teams, I'm going to call it an exact wash. I had faith in Boswell last year. He had a terrible year, but he tends to bounce back after those. So that's that. Presley Harvin's still the punter, same long snapper. Really, nothing's changed on special teams except, as of right now, 3 of the bigger contributors on special teams aren't there. That's Miles Boykin, that's Benny Snell Jr., and that is, of course, Robert Spillane, another really good special teams guy out there. Oh, or the captain, Derek Watt. also not right now currently on a team. We'll see what happens there. I guess I would say special teams right now, a slight downgrade because we don't have any super special teams guys. But who knows? We'll see what happens going forward. That's my take on how the Steelers look right now. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think the draft is going to address a lot of these areas where I felt we've seen some falling off for the Steelers because they draft good, they draft the right positions. All of a sudden, you could look at an upgrade at every position, or if we ignore a position like the defensive line, maybe improve an offensive tackle, getting a cornerback, getting an inside linebacker, getting an extra pass rusher. We avoid those positions, maybe they become a big liability. I don't know. It's fun to speculate at this time of year. That's all we're here to do. So I guess it's time to give a shout out. My shout out is welcome back, Andrew McCutcheon. Seeing him in Pittsburgh in a Pirates uniform, hearing all the cheering going on, watching AJ Burnett throw out a first pitch for the home opener. Really good, really fun stuff to see, bringing back the winning vibes. And maybe that's what this young group needed is those winning vibes, and maybe they can continue that. So my shout out's going to be baseball. It's going to be your Pittsburgh Pirates, specifically Andrew McCutcheon, as I said. Now it's time to let you know I am the Viking Donkey. That's Viking_Donkey on Twitch and Twitter. Your daily dose of donkey with Gingers, the YouTube channel. Leave us a like, comment, follow. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us any content you'd like to hear about in the off season. Anything cool we can be doing. We're trying to keep it entertaining. We're trying to keep it up. We're trying to keep it going. Donk Nation, Steeler Nation, we're getting close to draft time. XFL still going on if you like spring football. USFL should be starting here shortly. Baseball if you're into it. Hockey playoffs. Basketball playoffs too. Haven't watched that in a long time, but those are coming. That means there's plenty of things to get your towel ready for. And it is going to be me letting you know. Wave them if you got them. Here we go.